Interesting update in court today, and it was a piece of evidence that I thought was going to be brought forward, but it's not going to be brought forward. And I'm not going to lie, this is kind of a W for Durk. So obviously there's been all this talk about King Von, his past, him being a leader of the BDs. Obviously I've done a lot of coverage on King Von and the allegations that he made himself that he had 7 bodies. Now, you know, many people before me had called King Von a serial killer. I obviously covered King Von being an alleged serial killer, and you know, a lot of people tapped in with it, but it was actually confirmed today that they would not be able to bring up King Von's past of violence. They wouldn't be able to bring up King Von's bodies. They're not going to be able to mention that. They can mention him as a member of the Black Disciples, as part of O Block, but they're not allowed to talk about Von's bodies, Von's history as a violent man. They basically said that it's not relevant. They said that his violent history isn't necessary to prove that there was a desire for get back. So that was kind of interesting. I do feel like it might have been worse for Durk if they were going to mention Von having all these bodies. Now, we did hear some interesting stuff about Jam regarding violence, but I'm going to talk to you guys about that in a different video. Hey, this guy's wilding out.
Such a whole ass up, nigga.
So look, they're that mad about the truth. They're this mad about the truth, and I can't wait to see what everyone's got to say on the verdict day. I wonder if they're going to be bringing the same energy on the verdict day, or if everyone's going to disappear and just give up on Durk after that point. I don't know, but I'll let you guys know as soon as I know. But that is official. Von's bodies are not. So it is official. It is official. OTF Jam took the stand today, and it was absolutely wild. There's so many quotables from OTF Jam's testimony, and it was just absolutely insane. Now, what I'm going to say that was very, very interesting is off the rip, OTF Jam said why he was there, what was going on, the conditions of his plea, and he basically confirmed that he was copping to 3 murders as part of his deal. There was a conspiracy to commit murder for hire, an apparent kidnap for murder, and a robbery murder. Now, it was crazy, and he actually touched on one of the murders that he actually did way back in the day that was part of his plea. So obviously one of them is the Durk conspiracy, you know, the murder for hire of Lil Pab, but another one was a 2010 apparent robbery in Racine, Wisconsin. Apparently another Black Disciple had asked OTF Jam to go with him to rob somebody that his dad had sold drugs with. The older BD basically said that this guy had cheated him out of money, and then they went to rob him. They went into a store with him, they basically locked the door, they put guns to the guy, there was a fight, and Jam was told to shoot the guy. Jam shot him once, and the guy that he was with, the older BD, said, nah, he saw my face, kill him. He saw me. And what did Jam do? Jam said he put the gun to the guy's head and pulled the trigger and executed him on the spot. He was age 17 at the time. So that's now 2 of Jam's murders that we've had confirmed, but he is probably going to testify later on about a 3rd murder that he did, and I think it could be possible that that's the one that Durk and them actually took him into the bathroom to kind of confront him about, to say, you out here catching even more bodies, you getting the feds on us, you getting everything hot, you need to calm it down with these. So that's the latest. Jam was on the stand. I've got loads of updates about stuff that Jam said, but basically Jam's copped out to 3 bodies. He's helping the feds, and he is saying that Durk did it. He's saying that Durk led the conspiracy. He pointed out all 3 defendants today. So it is official. So when OTF Jam took the stand, he made it very clear. He pointed at Durk, he pointed at Dee Dee, he pointed at Lindsay. He said they was all in on the murder and the conspiracy. They're mad, they're big mad. They're so mad that Jam took the stand and is cooking Lil Durk. Durk got cooked by Jam. It was such a bad day. People out here trying to act tough like that's something, okay? But it ain't gonna do nothing. It's not gonna help Durk. It's not gonna stop Jam. Durk literally got pointed out. He looked so disappointed. He looked heartbroken. There were moments where Jam was sort of like, looked like he was low-key like chuckling a little bit, or like they was playing that video of Dee Dee basically where he admitted to being the murder man, and Jam just shook his head and laughed. He's thinking, you guys cooked yourselves. You talk about I'm the snitch. You guys cooked yourselves. They played back again in the court. I'm not gonna lie. All of these folks out here that say that they love Durk, love Von, they don't love Von as much as I do. I was bopping along to Back Again. It was hard, but unfortunately there was true facts behind those songs, and Durk got pointed out by Jam. Jam was apparently one of the biggest demons out here. He claimed that he murdered 3 people for the BDs there's a 3rd murder that we don't know about yet that we're going to probably find out about, but Jam said that he got blessed into the BDs when he was just 9 years old. Okay, it's crazy. It's actually crazy. They said that bro, this was crazy. Do you know how many shootings Jam said that he was involved in between, I believe, the ages of 12 and 18? 10 to 15 shootings, but also robberies. He was an armed robber. He said he did over 100 robberies. He can't even remember how many robberies he did. He said he mostly robbed drug dealers, but in a moment that probably actually pulled at the jury's heartstrings and made you have a lot of sympathy for Jam. They said, what did you do? Did you always rob drug dealers? He said, not always. He said, there was one time I did something else. They said, what did you do? He said, there was one time I actually did an armed robbery for food. He said that my family was hungry, my parents were drug addicts. I was only 12 years old. I had to stick someone up with a gun to literally put food on the plate for my family. My parents had bills, they were drug addicts. I stepped up to the plate and I did over 100 robberies, and I was just trying to get by and feed my family. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was actually quite compelling. I don't know if the jury are gonna be sympathetic for that. Obviously, he's also doing 15 shootings and catching 3 murders and just doing all type of stuff, but it actually kind of was emotional. It actually made you feel like, damn, in many ways, like Jam is actually a victim of circumstance. He was having to rob people for food. So when he got flown out there to LA by allegedly Durk and Didi and them to go and participate in this murder, really, and he said it himself, he didn't feel like he had a choice. He said that he was already in LA when Dudy Lowe got on FaceTime and said, you're here to kill Quando Rondo. That's what was said. It's crazy. And he said, look, I was already there, and where I come from, you don't stop nobody from committing a murder. That's how you get yourself killed. So OTF Jam's testimony, I'm not going to lie to you, it was very, very compelling, and they big old mad about it. So when OTF Jam so there was a crazy piece of testimony that went down when OTF Jam was on the stand, and Durk's crew basically threw a giant tantrum and tried to call a mistrial. The judge wasn't going for it, but it was pretty crazy, and the details are actually nuts. So obviously, when Jam was in jail, he didn't really know Durk like that. He knew him from back in the day from around Lamron. He confirmed that, OTF, Lamron 300, it was all a bunch of gang stuff and that Durk was involved in it. That was his opinion. I'm going to break that down more in another video. But basically, he said that, Durk started putting money on his books in jail. When he came out, he started showing love. He basically bought him a bunch of clothes. He had his guy that worked with him, Jason, damn near buy him a whole new wardrobe. But what was very interesting was that he started traveling with Durk. He went out to Detroit with Durk. He went out to Miami with Durk. And apparently, this is crazy, okay? When he was in Miami with Lil Durk, they ended up bumping into Tory Lanez and his crew. Now, apparently, Jam saw one of Tory Lanez's artists that he had, I guess, signed to his label with like a really nice set of chains. He had some nice kit on him. Apparently, after they all linked up, Jam took Durk to one side and basically said to him, hey, look, I'm going to start robbing these guys. And this is exactly what King Von said he was going to do when he got out of jail, and Durk started bringing him around as well. Obviously, Von started rapping and went to the top and then lost his life. But Jam basically said, look, I'm actually just going to start robbing these guys for you. And this was after Von died. And you know what Durk said in response? He didn't say, hey, don't make the block hot. He didn't say, hey, calm it down. Tory's my mans, don't rob his artists. You know what Durk allegedly said to Jam? He said, that's the Jam I've been waiting on, bro. He must have probably been thinking, that's exactly what King Von said to me when I started bringing him around all of these people. It was crazy. So apparently, every time that Jam linked up with Lil Durk, OTF Vonnie pulled up and gave him guns. And basically, they said that they were constantly passing Jam guns. And the purpose of that, literally, Jam said, because they knew I was finna use them. They knew that I was the guy that was going to let it blow if it came to it. So they constantly kept Jam around. Durk always had Jam traveling with him numerous times, numerous states all over the place. And basically, Vonnie was sliding in pipes and basically saying, yeah, like hey, Jam's the one that's going to get busy. Now, there was a bunch of little hushed sidebar meetings privately between the judge and the various lawyers. And we eventually found out at the very end of the day that Durk's counsel were calling for an entire mistrial, saying that this was a mischaracterization. Their Tory Lanez comment, they made it sound like Durk was encouraging him to rob people. And the judge basically was like, look, I'm going to deny the motion for a mistrial. Let's be serious about this. He was like, I looked over the transcript. It doesn't sound like he's quite doing that, but I did think maybe it was inappropriate. I've asked the jury to disregard that piece of evidence, but like, mistrial over that? Are you crazy? And the judge pretty much said, look, I didn't even know who Tory Lanez was, all right? But then people are telling me afterwards, he's a big name. It could cause the jury to be impartial. They might know a little bit about Tory. So that was kind of the back and forth with that. They were thinking they got off a little slick mistrial, but it didn't go anywhere. But yeah, that's how Jam was apparently moving. He was on that timing. So there was a quote. It looks like it's official. Dudy Lowe has been confirmed as co-conspirator number 4, and the person who confirmed it was OTF Jam himself. Now, we'd been wondering who was it that gave the location of Quando Rondo in LA to the alleged hitmen, to Durk, to the team and all of that kind of stuff. Well, what is crazy is that we found out that there was apparently like a crazy conversation after basically like all the hitmen arrived in San Diego. Apparently none of them knew what was going on, but they had an inkling something crazy was going on. And I'm not going to lie, Durk really put himself in it with some of this stuff. So apparently, okay, all of the hitmen were kind of rounded up for some kind of secret mission. They didn't know what was going on. They all quickly got booked to these flights to San Diego. And apparently when Jam and another one of the hitters basically arrived, they went to a Hooters in San Diego. They got on a FaceTime with Duty Low, who told them that they got the location for Quando Rondo. They got the low from basically like a weed dealer that was going to go and take them some weed, and that they were basically going to trick him into coming outside to pick up weed, and they were going to kill him outside of his hotel. Well, it's confirmed that was Duty Low. Now, not only did we were hearing about Duty Low being in group chats, and I thought, oh, maybe they're going to show some series of messages with Duty Low and other stuff that he had said, but it was Jam that took the stand and said that it was Duty Low that basically told them after they'd arrived in California that they were there on a mission to kill Quando Rondo. And Jam said something really interesting. He said, look, he felt like it was too hot to kill somebody in Los Angeles. He was thinking, there's too many police. I don't know the city. I don't know how to get away if I get in a high-speed chase, if I get hurt. I don't know where I'm going. This is a bad idea. But he said it was too late. I was already there, and I just went with it. So OTF Jam told the courtroom, he basically said, look, where I'm from, you don't stop nobody killing somebody. That's what gets you killed. They said that they'll think you're police. They'll get mad at you if you say that you want to stop a killing happening. But he wasn't really happy about it because he said he couldn't consider himself in the Quando beef. He said he wasn't that close with King Von. They spoke a couple of times. And what was crazy is Jam said that way back in the day before he knew Von, he was trying to rizz up King Von's sister. But he said he didn't feel like he should have had to be one of those people that slid for Von because that wasn't his homie. He said, look, he wasn't my man's. We didn't kick it. I didn't love him. I didn't feel like that was my mission. And he's saying they were in Hooters on FaceTime with Duty Low, and basically Jam and Boogie looked at each other after they were told to go and kill Quando, and they basically just looked at each other and said, yeah, But what was even more crazy is obviously now we know Duty Low was co-conspirator number 4 that was given the drop. They were apparently waiting outside Quando Rondo's hotel, and Duty Low told them that basically the guy that they thought they were getting weed from was telling Quando Rondo that he was just a few minutes away from the hotel. This is going to... I might have to say this in a different video because we're running out of time. But basically, they had eyes on Quando Rondo outside the hotel. They were about to kill him, but the police rode by. Apparently, Didi upped his gun, pointed it at Quando, and said, I could kill him right now. It would be so easy. But they said, nah, the block's too hot. There's too many cops out here downtown LA. I'm not going to go through with it. And then they went back to the crib. Insane. So it looks like it's official.